Okay, so this is a podcast with Vanessa Casano interviewing Dave Wilmot, Muay Thai boxer extraordinaire. So lucky to have him here. We are at the Maya ayahuasca retreat in Peru near Iquitos, and we're going to be talking about ayahuasca and Dave's experiences here. So, Dave, what's brought you here? Why are you here?
Um, the reason I'm here is because I've done ayahuasca before in the UK under David Shaman. Um, I have a good life. I come from a bad past, but yet I have a good life, and I believe there are certain issues that I have that I can't seem to work out. And I've had all the psychological medicine, I've had the pharmaceutical medicine. So I think what I suffer with is a spiritual dilemma, and I believe that ayahuasca is a spiritual medicine, which has brought me to Peru and to Camp Maya.
Okay. And how would you differentiate like a spiritual medicine from any other kind of medicines?
Uh, the thing I think a spiritual medicine is more about somebody's issues, because if you bang your rib or you hurt your leg, there's ibuprofen, there's anodine, and there's all that kind of stuff. And but what I suffer with internal injuries. Sometimes I could be deeply wounded or deeply emotional, or 99 people can kiss my ass, one person says something wrong, and I can be on the floor for months over it. I think what I suffer with is a spiritual illness, and again, ayahuasca is like a spiritual medicine, so to speak. So, I believe that's another reason why I'm here.
So, would you say your experiences with ayahuasca have been like purely kind of psychological and in the mind, or has it been physical for you as well?
Um, yeah, before I come to Peru, obviously my background is drugs, hardcore drugs. I was an addict for 18, 19 years. I've used drugs really badly. I have a lot of stories to tell about that. I have a lot of issues around that. There's a few demons that aren't at rest just yet. Um, but like I said, I'm here because I want to resolve myself, put to bed the past, and be a better person for my future.
And where do you feel you are on that journey, and how far do you think ayahuasca is going to take you on that journey? And is ayahuasca the only thing you think that's going to take you on that journey?
Well, like I said, coming from the background of being an addict, I do a lot of stuff regarding NA, the Narcotics Anonymous Fellowship. I've been doing meetings for 7 years. I'm 7 years clean. I've done a lot of step work. I have a sponsor. I've done a lot of the academic written work. But sometimes words are great, but sometimes you need to go through experience. And for me, one of my issues is people. My relationships to people. Why certain people pee me off. Why I want to kill certain people on a daily basis. Why I can't get on with my mum. Why don't I trust my coach. Why don't I feel like everyone likes me. Why I'm always people pleasing. I think what I suffer with is a spiritual dilemma, because when my spirit's intact, my mind's right. When my mind's right, I'm positive and productive. But a lot of the time, life can batter me. The matrix, so to speak, can batter me to a point my spirit feels battered. And once it feels battered, it just needs repair. Like if I was a car, I'd go to an MOT centre. So when my spirit's battered and needs a repair, I'll come to an ayahuasca centre, sort of thing. But my main point for being here is having a good relationship with myself, so I can have a good relationship with others, so I don't cause too much unmanageability to my life, because I come from too much of it, and I need it to change.
And speaking of relationships, so you're talking about difficulty of relationships with people, difficulty of relationship with yourself. How's your relationship with ayahuasca?
Um, my relationship to ayahuasca at the moment, I've done a good few ceremonies now, and it's like a bit like a love-hate relationship. When she's good to me, I love her. When she's showing me things I don't like, I want to fight her too. It's the same thing, relationship with anything, but fundamentally, I know it's good for me. Like sometimes I don't always looking at myself. I like to blame others, but you know, I think ayahuasca shows me stuff that I don't like, but I'm under her care. I don't believe she's showing me things to piss me off or to get on my tits. I think she does it because she knows me inside out. I've drunk her a few times. We're aware of each other's presence, and I just feel like, to get to a better place, you have to go to that dark spot. But me being a fighter, I don't like the dark spot. Sometimes you have to surrender that dark spot to see the light. That's what I think about it.
And how are you finding, so you've been here almost a month at the retreat, Um, like few people make that time, I think, to come here. Do you think it's important, the kind of time that you've been dedicating to it? What's been the difference, do you think? What will have been the difference for you in your ayahuasca experience, having been here for a month, maybe compared to somebody that comes, for just a few days or a week?
Well, when I first arrived at Maya, there was a few people here. I didn't really understand that, like, the protocol of what's going to go down and the dynamics of groups. When I first got here, it appeared to be a bit like the Big Brother house. This is Dave's day one. That guy's cool. That guy's a dick. I'll avoid him. I'll avoid her. She's got issues I can't cope with. All that sort of jazz. And but the longer I'm here, like, when I first come here, I judged the younger generation, like, because you've got some youngsters here that are like 20, 21, and they're quite spiritual. They've got good knowledge of plants, understanding that kind of stuff. And I kind of, like, me being me, I judged them quite badly and thought, what they're going to teach me, man, they're too young. They've never suffered before in life. But going back to the question is, it pees me off people that come here for a week or two, have a jolly up, make a lot of noise, and go home with loads of issues. Like, what's the point of that? I wouldn't take ibuprofen if I didn't have a bruise. So, my opinion and view of it is, why take ayahuasca if you're just here for the hit? You might as well go home and take some acid and get on with it. That's what I think.
Okay. And obviously while you've been here, ayahuasca isn't the only plant medicine. I think a lot of people would associate Peru and these sorts of retreats with just ayahuasca, but actually there's I think I've read somewhere like 80,000 medicinal plants or something in the jungle. Can you talk a little bit about your experience with other plants?
Yeah, like I said, when I first come here, I didn't really understand the concept. I just thought I'd be drinking ayahuasca for a month and learning loads, but talking to the youngsters, and they've kind of inspired me to do a bit more work on myself here. Because fundamentally I've come here to do work on myself. It's not Butlins here. I thought it was, but it's actually not. And talking to the younger kids, well, I say kids, younger adults, they've kind of inspired me a little bit. Through talking to them and identifying certain things with them, they've inspired me to do some plants. And I've done ohe, which is a plant that we've all done here. Makes you sick, you isolate for a few days. And I really struggled with the isolation. I couldn't isolate for too long. I've got a devil on my shoulders that likes to take me to Beirut on a daily basis. If I don't check out my thinking, I get that old turn out of stinking thinking. So that's why I've got good friends around me to stop me thinking crazy. But being in isolation, you can't. You've only got yourself. That was difficult. I've done Mapacho, which is a heavy clean out. I think Mapacho taught me how to say sorry, how to forgive people I've hurt, how to forgive myself for the hurt that I've caused myself. Because being an addict, like, you do harm other people through drugs, but fundamentally you're hurting yourself. I've done some horrendous things to myself under drugs and doing things for money for drugs. So and I also, like, I don't pray that much. I prayed once in Denmark when my leg was battered, and I needed God then, and he kept me safe. And that night I did Mapacho. It was very dark for me. Mapacho took my ass to hell and back. But God brought me back because I had to pray to him. It's weird because David Sharma said to me, "Why do you only pray to God when you're in the shit? Why can't you talk to him on a daily basis?" So that's something I'm learning. It's not just about ayahuasca. It's about my conscious contact with God. I believe in God when I'm in the shit, but I don't. When life's alright, I boy him off a little bit. So Mapacho's helped me understand that. I've just come off the piri diet. As you know, you've been one of my closest confidants and helped me through the piri diet. I moan, whinge, I throw tantrums, I'm like a little baby, and I just think Mapacho's taught me to have a little bit more faith, and piri's taught me to have a little bit more faith and to have a little bit more discipline, and not be too hard on myself if I don't, come up trumps first time. There's always the next time, because I'm a champion and I've lost fights, I've won fights, but what makes me a champion is keep going. And I think that Piri has taught me that. Keep discipline, and if you do fail, because I'm human after all, it's okay to carry on. I think that's it. And also I've learned that food for me doesn't keep me healthy and fighting fit. Food can hide the void of being lonely, being negative, missing the missus. Food for me is like the new crack. And as you're aware, like, being here, you learn a lot about food and what's bad for you and what's good for you. And I think food's got a lot of addictive qualities in it, and I can use food the same way as I used to use heroin to fill the spiritual void that's missing. So that's my experience on plants.
Okay. Really interesting insights. to some plants that I know some of us haven't yet tried. And what is, and how's your feeling about the retreat? You know, like the retreat itself, the people here. You know, how would you sort of describe it to people?
You know, I think before I answer this question honestly, I will say everyone here is different and everyone's got a different path. But my experience of experiencing other people is some people are just downright dickheads. Some people are arrogant, egotistical twats. Some people have been the most genuine. The people that have helped me the most are people that have done the plants I've done and talk to me honestly and openly. They're the people I can get on with. There's a lot of people here, like the Jackanory people, that want to tell you stories about their lives, but they don't want to tell you. They don't want to tell you about them at their point in life. They want to tell you about all, you know, the glory stories and all that. You know, that don't impress me, man. Everyone's got glory stories, man. But it's the fundamental fact for me is what you're doing about it now. Who are you? What are you doing? How do you feel? How do you cope? You know, when you have a problem, what kind of solutions do you get? Because that's how I learn about life, man, is identifying with other people. If you're just going to tell me stories, man, I might as well throw you in a bin and get out a DVD and watch that. You know, that's kind of like my experience of the situation. But like I said, you know, some people aren't willing to get that honest. Some people are still in a lot of denial about things. You know, some people that have been here have put on show. You know, some people here have issues around their kids, and every time they see kids, they've got to put on this big show like, oh, look at me, I'm a great parent. Well, why don't you live with your kids then? What's going on for you, really? You know, just sort of stuff like that. But, you know, I'm only speaking honestly, and I think, you know, sometimes people need to stop loving the idea of taking ayahuasca, seeing God and meeting Jesus, and thinking they're right on their spiritual cloud. There's no pink fluffy cows coming in here to take them home. You know, you've got to do the work. And some people just rather talk about their DVDs than it is they're doing their work. So that's my experience.
And I mean, you know, you alluded to this before, that, you know, your relationships can be challenging for you. I mean, knowing you personally and having spent a lot of time with you, I know you're not the kind of person who, you know, instantly will trust somebody. You know, that whilst you're very open, you know, and you're very clear about who you connect with and who you don't. At the same time, people really have to earn your trust. So do you want to talk about that a little bit in relation to David and his role here as the shaman?
You know, I'd like to say that I've done a lot of work with Dave before. You know, I believe he's a really good shaman. You know, my loyalty to Dave is very strong. You know, people said, oh, if Dave don't do ayahuasca no more, would you go somewhere else? My answer to that is probably not. I'd have to be in serious dire straits to go and see someone else to do ayahuasca. You know, I've learnt loads from Dave. He's a very funny character. He's very good. But also as well, like, I think for me, like, he said a few things to me while I'm at camp that's really pissed me off. Sometimes I think to him, listen, man, we're not the same as you. You know, I'm different to you. You need to treat me a bit different. You know, and sometimes, like, you know, doing an ayahuasca experience for me, like, there's so many unanswered questions, so much goes on for me. And sometimes after a ceremony, I don't know, I'm going to ask from Melba, and sometimes it would be nice for a little bit of guidance, you know, and I'd be able to sit down and talk to someone and, you know, to sort of be honest with the shaman, because, you know, my experience of learning the plants and learning about ayahuasca and what goes on for me in ceremony is actually talking to the ceremony participants, people like yourself, Aaron, and a few others that are here, you know, get some identification. Because, you know, I know it's a business for David and he's very busy and he's got his faith or whatever, but sometimes I do think he should have a little bit more input to the people that are using ayahuasca under him, because, you know, I do feel like he has a duty of care. He's not the be-all and end-all, and he's not on such a cloud where I don't believe he's human, or I've not put him on a pedestal, but as a teacher myself, I do believe that their students should be comfortable to go up to him and kind of get a solution, or be able to open up a little bit more. You know, regardless of that, I know he's busy and he's probably sick of the same old fucking questions, but, you know, that's kind of how I see it.
Okay. I mean, are there any questions actually that you would like me to ask you? You know, is there anything that kind of you want to say that you're really itching and burning to say? Because I know there's a lot going on in that head of yours.
You know, I'm not very good at, like, wanting to be asked questions. You know, I base myself on, if people ask me a question, I'd like to believe I'm 100% honest about a question I'm asked. You know, to ask a question, I think would be a little bit egotistical, a bit arrogant. You know, and I don't want my ego to come out in this kind of interview. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, I've got one last one for you then, which is sort of in line with the interview we had with myself and with Ed. So, you know, David is talking about not doing shamanism anymore, not working with ayahuasca anymore, and doing a 40-day fast. You know, to have a greater connection with God. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are like, you know, when I found out Dave didn't want to do ayahuasca no more, I kind of felt disappointed in him because it's took him so far. He's used it, so not used it, but you know, it's mentored him to get him where he is now. He's from like he's got his own story and background. It's not too positive. So ayahuasca's really helped him get to where he needs to be. And I feel at the moment that he's kind of buoyed it off for another kind of line of work, which is, you know, it's fine. Everyone follows their path, but you know, him doing the 40-day fast, I believe, is great for him because he's the sort of dude that will do it. Because I spoke to him about it, you know, and his faith in God is greater than anything my faith can comprehend. You know, when it comes to a faith scale, he's on 110%, and I'm just still bordering 10 at the minute. You know, and I've learned a lot about faith through him. You know, when he talks to me about God, he inspires me to want to believe in God more. He's given me a few directions on how to have that conscious contact with God. You know, after speaking to Dave about, you know, God, man, the next morning I woke up and just done a gratitude list and thank God for that. You know, but as far as him doing the 40 days and the 40 nights, he will do it because I believe his faith will overpower any logic. Because you try and get logical with him, he just look at you like you're smoking crack still. You know, he's just like, yeah, whatever, man, I've got faith, go away. You know, that's kind of like how he's been with it. I don't think he's so strong-minded and so focused on the task in hand. You don't care about logic, man. So you've got the old dialogue of logic and faith. When faith overrides logic, who cares about logic, man? It's like Neo in the Matrix, isn't it? When Neo sees green and then he starts to see the agent and starts dodging bullets. Dave will dodge the food and he will dodge all the demons that come to him while he's in isolation because he believes it will bring him closer to God. And I think, you know, him and God need to be on the same page because they're just the fucking same as each other, really.
Thank you so much for your time, for your openness and honesty as always, and it's such a pleasure. Thank you.
You guys are so funny.
Is that good? Is it good?
With your radio